You know what? I actually think we must expand on that conversation we started on the 702 open line. Of course, I don't think we had enough time to go deeper and deeper into it, but I think we must make some time to revisit that conversation, because I do think that we are a traumatized people. And I'm talking here about the conversation we had about some foreign nationals who would often be scared to tell us where they're from. Either one, like other listeners have suggested, because maybe they know that they don't have the right papers. That could be the case with some. Or two, it could be because they know the kind of attitudes that they get when they express where they're from. They know the kind of attitudes that they have dealt with before, so they're too traumatized, and that is why they will tend to lie about it, right? And I think there's a bigger conversation that we need to have about that. I think the mistake sometimes other people, especially locals, will make is assume that the minute someone is a foreign national, then it must mean that they're here illegally, or it must mean that they're overburdening our system. And, you know, like the other listener said, in some instances, in fact, when you ask someone that question, it may come across as if you're trying to police them. And I think the way to deal with that is just to be friendly in your dialogue. Like if you are going to come and be systematic and, you know, ask, you don't even know the person's name. You've not even had any other conversation with them, but you've already jumped to where are you from in such a systematic way, as if you are regulating. And I'm suggesting that's not the way to go about it. But I think there's a bigger conversation there. So I'll get the producers to note it, and hopefully we can return to this chat at some point. We've also been talking on the 702 Open 9 this morning about what's happening in the city of Tshwane. There's this thing that they started. In fact, it started with the last administration under Clement Manyathela, Tshwane Ya Tima. It's continuing under Mayor Nasiphi Moya. And what they do is go to these departments. Believe it or not, there are other government departments, quite a lot of them, in fact, who owe the municipality a lot of money. And they've visited some of those to try and switch them off, or at least come to some sort of agreement. The latest the Tshwane city has done is go to the Department of Correctional Services to try and switch off Kgoshi Mampuru Correctional Facility, because apparently it owes the city nearly 8 million rand in utility debt. The Correctional Services Department says that's not really true. The city made an error and they've since corrected it. That's why they left without switching off Kgoshi Mampuru prison. So there's a lot of contradictory information, because the city says one thing, the Correctional Services Department tells us something completely different. So we've invited Eugene Modise, who is the Deputy Mayor of Tshwane, to join us on the line to clarify what really transpired here. Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Thank you, Clement, and good morning to the listeners of 702.
Let's start with...
Perhaps before we go further,
yeah?
let me play my part as a resident, just to deposit my view on what you have said earlier.
Go ahead.
I'm referring to that dialogue is important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you are much better placed as a radio to contribute to the national dialogue. What you can do when you speak to your producers, just ensure that maybe weekly have a conversation on these matters so that they can find expression in the national dialogue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Deputy Mayor. Go ahead now. Let's start with the Correctional Services, Kgoshi Mampuru prison. The city officials went there because you believe that they owe the city nearly 8 million rand in utility debt. The Correctional Services Department told us this morning when we contacted them that no, that's not the case. You guys made an error, and that's why you left without switching off Kgoshi Mampuru prison. What happened there? Can you clarify?
Yeah, just to put the context. Normally, when we go to do this exercise of Ya Tima, there's a process that we embark on each and every morning before identifying a client or a customer that owes us. That is standardized. So it was not only Kgoshi Mampuru, by the way, I was personally in Bavian's prison services. Mampuru are owing us 8 million rand, is guaranteed and is given. And tomorrow we've got a conversation with the CFO of the doctor, I forgot the name, in Tshwane House, just to deal with this impasse. It was unnecessary actually to name and shame in the media while they know exactly that they owe us. We've got a team that deals with departments. I'm referring to national and provincial departments. And I can safely tell you now, I had a conversation with the Premier on the provincial debt. He agreed that by the end of this month, they'll give us 60% of what they owe us because they have spoken to all the departments. Kgoshi Mampuru owes us, and the reason why we didn't switch off, I think you have an appreciation, is the institution itself, the entity, what it is. We are not going to be reckless, switch it off while there's prisoners and other things there, and we subject the institution into jeopardy.
Isn't that what the mayor said, though, on social media, that they would go and switch off, cut electricity to the Kgoshi Mampuru Correctional Center?
No, we will if the meeting of tomorrow fails to reach an agreement.
But you've just said now that you wouldn't be reckless enough to cut it, understanding what Kgoshi Mampuru is.
Let me explain the reckless component. When you've got a customer, and we treat Kgosi Mampuru as our customer, we furnish them with the bill, we interact with them, and we give them timelines. If they fail by this time, then we don't have no option but to cut. Does that make sense?
It does. But what doesn't make sense to me is that when we spoke to the Correctional Services Department this morning before we started the show, they said that they explained to you as the city that what you were doing was based on an incorrect account statement, and you since realized that, there's an error here, which is why you have not switched. You are telling me that, no, you actually came up to an agreement, and if they don't meet the agreement that you guys have come out to, you are going to switch them off. So who's lying to us?
Okay, perhaps let's use circumstantial evidence. If they don't owe us, why do they have to come to us to have a conversation? Number one. Number two, our system is a wonderful system. It calibrates the debts and all the customers each and every 24 hours. That is why, before we go to Clement Manyathela, we have an evidence that Clement owes us 1 rand from this period to this period. And this is the history of the payment of Clement. And then that's when we come to Clement. Okay. But we don't come to Clement without having a conversation with Clement. We issue emails, SMS, and we've got a team that makes calls to our clients.
So by the time you go to your client, that means you're ready to switch off because all the other interdepartmental relations that you've tried to establish have not worked.
Yes.
So why then when you went to the city, why then when you went to the correctional services last week, Kgoshi Mampuru, you didn't switch off? Because what preceded your visit there was the emails, was the calls, was all that communication. So why didn't you switch off?
Okay. I'm going to try to be clinical, but I won't disclose deeper. But let me tell you the configuration of the department. The premises, I'm referring to the facility, is owned by Public Works. And Prison Services uses the facility that is owned by Public Works. But they've got the responsibility to pay electricity, water, and rates. And in this instance, Public Works didn't play its part, and we realized that perhaps let's give them an opportunity to discuss that internally. I'm referring to intergovernmental relations, so that when we come back, they have already settled the matter. But they owe us. It's not a lie. What I can do, I can send you the bill, and you'll be able to verify this as facts, or am I lying?
Okay,
actually, there's no need for us to lie.
Okay, that would be great. Please, if you can share that. But please, can you advise what agreement have you come to now as we speak? How much will they need to pay, and what happens if they don't?
Oh, okay. This is how we approach our capital debts. we sit down with them, and then there's two options. One is to settle, because they are saying they've got money. I don't know whether it's a claim or whatever. They settle their account, and then we'll remove the interest instantly. Number two, they pay 50% of the debt, and we make an arrangement. That's how we are going to approach it.
Okay, what have they agreed to do, though?
No, we're meeting tomorrow, like I said. We're meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, so you're meeting tomorrow to agree on a settlement, and then if that is not met, that's when you're going to act.
Yes. You'll be the first to be notified on the action subsequent to our meeting.
Okay, cool. How has the campaign been going so far? Because it seems like there are a number of, private businesses where we've seen, the city posting pictures on social media where businesses are being switched off, but there are some government departments as well. I know you visited CETA, the SAPS College in Pretoria West, of course the Kgoshi Mampuru Correctional Services as well, but the Department of Labor as well. Are there a lot of state institutions that have simply stopped paying for utilities?
Yes, and it's strange because in terms of our understanding that each and every institution have got a CFO, and they've got managers in different districts or branches who are responsible for the day-to-day running of the institutions. So it's unfortunate. I don't know why they are doing this. And I'll cite one unfortunate incident, the Vescopis Hospital. When we do that exercise, they don't look at the gravity or the amount we are owed and the duration. They just look at our action without even considering why is Vescopis not paying on time while they've got funds, they've got a CFO who's responsible for the finances. Then when we act as if we are out of tune. But let me tell you the wonderful part of this program. In October 2025, we reached 4 billion rand collection, the first in the life of Tshwane and the entire country as a municipality. That's a milestone, and this demonstrates that this action or this program is bearing fruits.
Okay, how do you then balance ensuring that these institutions pay? I mean, let's take Vescopis, for instance. One of our listeners called in and said, when you do something like that, it doesn't come across as if you're an administration that is humane, that cares about the people that institution houses, for instance. So how do you balance, one, the need to get the institutions to pay as they're legally required to, but two, being humane in your approach so that you at least mitigate or expect the consequences should we switch off at these institutions?
Forever we are driven by humility. That is why we keep the record of our conversation, interaction with the clients. Look, let me perhaps juxtapose what we are saying to what the residents are subjected to. There's an area called Bachanabukwena in Harangua. They've got an 8 pipe of sewer, which is residing in sanitation. It burst. Now the schools have reopened. It cut across the school. Those people have been subjected to this kind of stinking, unfavorable, and unhealthy situation. Then Vescopis is having our money that we can use to repair that pipe. So what must we do in the process? But again, we don't wake up and just go to a client and switch off. We communicate effectively, and we've got records to that effect.
Yeah. Okay. Another allegation that came from the DA Chief Whip, who also called us on the open line, is that you guys don't target businesses where your comrades have interests in.
Yeah, the lady is obsessed, Shem. She's struggling with nostalgia. You know what they did? They went to Murula Sunday, the entity owned by Northwest, wherein we are managing the property.
Who's we?
They went to, I'm referring us, Mzansi Promotions.
So that's a company that you're involved with, right?
Yes. Then in the process, they tried to relegate the responsibility of the Northwest Department to us because of the forever witch hunting. And unfortunately, they found that we don't have a contract or the account in the municipality. And what I did...
Don't you own the Northwest Housing Corporation over 12 million rand for the rental of the Murula San property?
No. And actually, you are helping me just to clarify this on air. When we entered into agreement, there were things that were supposed to be honored by Northwest Housing Corporation. And by then, they didn't have money. We used our money from our pockets to conduct renovations and the likes. And the worst was the roofing. The roofing was leaking because it was old and bad. And we invested a lot of money in that, and they were supposed to reimburse us. But in the process, they couldn't. That is why now the matter is before court, sub judice. But let me just finalize what I was trying to state. We found that the water owed to the city was 800,000 rand, which is not in our account. And in our agreement, we are not responsible for water. We are responsible for security, maintenance, and the likes. But we paid 400,000, and we made agreement so that we can settle that, just to quell the tension, which is unnecessary actually, because they forever want to appear as if they understand. They are in pain that we have managed to get a funded budget and our finances are stable. As we speak, they are fighting us for not paying, for paying the employees 3.5 increase. Imagine employees not getting increase for 4 years. Their salaries have been eroded by many things. Now they are angry, and they have spent at the cost. Actually, they were supposed to pay 400 million rand by then as the agreement of bargaining council. Now we are going to pay 1.8 billion rand, and we are prepared to pay it. That's why we are making means so that our employees are happy.
Okay. Because
those are our assets.
All right. Eugene Modise, let me thank you. I thought I should also put up to you what the DA chief whip in Tshwane, Jackie, said to us earlier on the allegation around the Mzansi Resorts, a company partly owned by Eugene Modise, who is the Deputy Mayor of Tshwane. Thanks for making time for us, and looking forward to the documents you will send us to prove the correctional service is wrong. And I will also confirm it to the listeners as well, because someone is not telling us the truth here.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.